So where are these questions coming in from? The chat. So if I hit more, there's a chat there.
Yeah, yes, there's a chat on the bottom.
To participants. You can also raise your digital hand if you'd like to ask in person.
I can share more if nobody wants to ask questions. I'm a talker. Eric's like, I can too.
That's the thing. We've all got stories.
We've all got stories.
I have a few questions pre-prepared if we'd like to go with those. What could each of your schools have done for you that could have made your school experience feel better or safer for you? Because I heard from most of your stories, it's just an uncomfort with being yourself. So what could your schools have done to make you more comfortable with yourself?
That's a great question. I think having a course, like a class, not a course because we're not in college, but having a class on kind of like ethics and humanity and educating people on different sexualities, different orientations, different ways of living, because this is the real world. And I think that if we had the proper education, we wouldn't feel like I don't think I would have felt so ashamed to write in my journal that I had these crushes on my girlfriends. You know, I probably would have felt, if I had a course or somebody guiding me and saying, you know, if you have feelings for the same sex, it's okay. It's not abnormal. I think that would have allowed me to like myself more, because I really didn't like myself growing up because I was ashamed of my feelings. And it played such a big part into my life that I was constantly depressed. So I think that if I would have had some sort of mentor, some sort of class that said, you know, there's straight people, there's gay people, there's bisexual people, there's queer people, there's all different kinds of people, and this is the world we live in. And you might not accept it, but it exists. So it exists just in case you happen to relate, and it's a way for people to not feel alone. I think that it would have been really beneficial to have some sort of eagle eye perspective.
I think to piggyback on that, you know, because I in my high school I had like very positive gay role models. Like we had our prom king was a gay man, like our homecoming queen was a lesbian. So like I felt like we had, for me, we had those role models, and they were elevated to make sure that like they were visible, kind of thing, so that like it was so that we had those kind of positive like reinforcing images of what what another person, not to put that kind of burden on them to be like this you know, this perfect role model, but you know, having those role models for sure is definitely a positive influence. But I never had like the school feel like it was like bogging me down or anything like that. Like, yeah, that's just me. So it was all internal.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I guess my school, there's no, you know, sort of organization. There wasn't that really many gay people in my small hometown. So a different story there. But I guess I don't know. I don't have an answer to what they could have done to help. But I think it's amazing that you guys are all in the same school, and this is a group that you all can have as a support. So I think that's really cool.
There's another question. How do you think your experience of coming out would have differed if you grew up in 2020?
Oh, well, for me, I would have come out a lot earlier. A lot earlier, I feel like. Yeah, because I think there was, even down to like things like YouTube. Like there are so many avenues today to get information. Like it used to be like all the like the little secrets, like you had to like whisper them like in the back of a nightclub kind of thing to figure out how to do this or how to do that, or ask someone, because there wasn't a lot of those resources available. I mean, YouTube existed, but it wasn't like I could find anything gay on there. They were still censoring the terms back then. It was a very different kind of time for that. So
I wish that I was growing up in 2020, because besides the fact what else is going on, but like the whole LGBTQ is such a mainstream thing, and it's just like more accepting, and I think it's great that you guys have, this platform. You guys have so many other platforms and other people that you might look up to that are open, and they're able to, sort of lead the way for you guys at such a young age. I think you guys should take that, as an opportunity and, just go with it, run with it. I think it's great that, at this day in our age, it's just mainstream, and there's so much more that probably will happen for the best. And I hope it's going to be for the best for for our community. So I think it's really great. And I wish that I was, in your guys' spot at this age in 2020.
I'm also getting a question about what advice would you give to people who would want to come out but are scared about what their parents might think?
Well, I didn't answer the 2020 question yet, but sorry, let me. If I were to come out now, I think that it would be a lot easier, because in all honesty, just recently I started to become involved in the LGBT community, more so than I was when I originally came out. And just to piggyback off Eric, I do agree that it's a lot easier to get the exposure and the education that you need through YouTube, through social media, because people are now talking about it through celebrities. Celebrities are coming out. It's like people are gaining the courage to finally become themselves. And it took all this craziness, all this COVID, all this insanity for us to finally say, this is me, like me or don't. And I think that you guys today in high school are a lot braver than I was. I think that it's really admirable, the kind of mentality that you guys have today, as opposed to the mentality that I had when I was in high school. I was super selfish. All I cared about was myself. And today, from what I see in 2020, you high school kids, you might be like that a little bit, but it seems like you really care about each other. It seems like you really care about helping one another, as opposed to judging and making someone feel like an outcast. And I think that that's really beautiful. And if you're not doing that, I encourage you to do that, because there's so many people out there that are struggling that you have no idea what they're struggling with. And, they could come from a shitty family. They could possibly not be eating every day. They could you know, I mean, there's so many factors, and I apologize for the cursing. I didn't mean to say the S word. But I'm sorry, Sophia, can you just re-ask that question again so I can answer it and then let everybody else speak?
Sure. Are you talking about the most recent question?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, the one about your parents.
Yes. Do you have any advice to people who want to come out but are scared about what their parents might think?
Yes. My advice to you when it comes to coming out and being scared about what your parents are going to think, at the end of the day, it's important to be yourself, because that's all you've got. Like, we come into this world alone, and we die alone. I know that's kind of a sad thing to say, but it's true. So, not every parent's going to be accepting, because I don't think that it's easy. I don't think that parents necessarily want a harder life for their kids. I know my parents, for me, didn't want me to be gay because they were scared that life would be harder. Life would be more challenging than it already is. But it took me, you know, almost 20 years to come out to my parents because I was scared of the rejection. And my best advice is to do it when you're ready, to do it when there's something meaningful behind it. I chose to do it when I entered into a relationship because I felt like I was ready and that it would be fair to that person. But I can't really give you the answer, because there's been experiences where some people are okay with it. Some people's parents are okay with it, and they are like, it doesn't matter, I love you, I accept you. And then there's other people that are like, get out of my house, you're not welcome. So it's not easy, but at the end of the day, I think the most important part is that you get to be yourself, and and hopefully, you know, your parents, and especially in this day and age, will be more accepting of your sexual preference, because we are in 2020. I mean, a billionaire's running is the president, who is a celebrity. Like, there's so much possibility and opportunity and open-mindedness now than there was 10 or 20 years ago. So I hope that if anybody is struggling and wanting to come out but scared to, that they take that leap of courage and own who they are, because you've only got one life and you have to live it to the best of your ability. Even if you're scared, the best way to live it is to be yourself.
I would add one more thing on that. You know, is definitely have your support system. You know, it may not be your parents. It may be a friend. It may be, you know, someone that you've talked to before that you come out to already. You know, definitely have that person there that, you know, is going to support you when you go into that kind of space, that you can call. You know, second you're done with your parents, if it goes great, you can call them and say, hey, like, this thing was amazing, like, everything went awesome. Or if it goes bad, then you have that person to call and cry to. You know, for me, my parents wanted to put me in counseling when I came out, and so that was really hard to deal with. And I was in college at the time, and so I was like, one, you can't do that. But you don't own me. You don't, you know, you're not my guardian anymore, kind of thing. But it was really hard for me to come to terms with that. They thought that I was somehow, you know, wrong or broken. And they eventually started to, you know, kind of see my way. And I totally get that. Like, it took me fucking 22 years to, you know, kind of really be okay with it myself. so I needed to give my parents time to be okay with it too, because it sometimes takes a long time to, just like accept that. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I would agree with you guys. You're definitely having a support group, right? So when my family found out, or I kind of told them, it happened in the various stages. I told a close friend of the family, or more or less a cousin, like a step cousin, who I was really close with. We talked every day before she knew, or before I told her I was gay. And then when I told her, I felt like, holy crap, I was able to tell at least one of my family members, and having that support group was really great. And then definitely have, it's going to be hard if you're in that position that you're not ready to, but definitely, have something that you're going to look forward to, once you are ready to let them know. For me, it wasn't that hard for my family because I do have some relatives that are gay. So I didn't have too much trouble coming out to my family. A little bit, but once I was at that moment and once I did it, it was like, it also helped me, coming out to the rest of the world. Like, as soon as my family knew and they didn't care, there was nothing else to hold me back at that point. So, I encourage you guys to find a support group, a close cousin, or, a family friend, someone you can trust to be there. And maybe you guys can have each other. I mean, you guys are all in the same school. That could be a good support group to lean on. So.
Okay, well, I would like to thank you all for participating in this. If anybody has any closing statements or remarks that they'd like to share before we end.
Yeah, I'd say just be yourself, and no matter what you are, just don't let other people kind of dictate your life to you, on whatever terms that is, whether that's being LGBTQ, whether that's getting a job, whether that's whatever that is in your life. Just don't let other people dictate those parts of your life to you. Live who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Don't let anyone hold you back. There is no one in this world that can hold you back to being true to yourself, loving yourself. You gotta love yourself before you can love someone else. Love yourself, be confident in who you are. One thing that helped me was music. Music helped me. A lot of, pop music really made me feel like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, I got this. The music was an outlet for me to be able to be more confident in myself. You have to find your level of confidence. When you do that, once you get there, there's almost nothing that's going to stop you. So I encourage you guys to really think about how you can get there and eventually come out to your parents if you haven't, or to the rest of the world. You can even I think I made a statement on social media. That kind of helped me too. After I was confident, then I had the music behind me, and then I didn't really say I'm gay on social media, but I started I think posting things about LGBT or some racy things regarding LGBT, and that was there, so I couldn't take that back. I could delete it, but I didn't. I let that go, and eventually that also helped me, kind of be more comfortable with posting things on social media about, LGBTQ rights and so forth. So there's a lot of different things you can use to help you get there. You just got to find what works for you. So I encourage you guys to, look into that and try your best.
Yeah. I just to piggyback off Lando and Eric, that was great feedback. As they said, it's important to be yourself. At the end of the day, I think the older that you get, the more that you mature, you realize that you have to be your biggest fan. Like, you have to be your biggest fan. You have to really like who you are, and it takes work, and it takes learning about yourself. And just to be perfectly honest, I'm 35 years old. Not everybody knows that I'm gay. Because sometimes, well, not sometimes, but people are judgmental at the end of the day. People are still going to judge. And I worry at times that it might affect, certain job opportunities or things of that nature. I haven't gotten to that point in my life where I'm gung-ho, LGBT, let me tell the world, let me wear hats, and like, I'm all about it. Like, I'll do it in the right setting. But the more comfortable you become in your skin, like the guys are saying, the easier it is to accept yourself. And all we've got is ourselves. I mean, we have support, which is important. I think it's amazing that you guys are in a class together where you can talk about this kind of stuff. Like, I didn't have this growing up. I had a film class that I went to, which I thought was pretty cool because we got to watch movies all day long. But like, having a class like this where we can talk about, different opportunities of living and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in society, and I just feel like you guys have an opportunity here that Lando, Eric, and I didn't have, which is support, which is the fact that you can be open. And it's so much easier to evolve internally that way, as opposed to trying to discover it on your own. So my advice or my suggestion is to just keep going. Like, if you feel like you're starting to have these feelings towards people, it's okay. Like, it's not abnormal. It is normal. That's the thing. And at the end of the day, to me, normality doesn't exist, because what is normal? It's like, that's just what we say it is. But in a normal world, it's normal to feel this way and to talk about it. And I strongly suggest that you talk about your feelings, because the more that you talk about your feelings and the more that you can open up to people, first of all, you're showing leadership, which encourages and inspires people to want to do the same thing that you're doing, because there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with wanting to be themselves out of fear of not being accepted. So if you're courageous enough to share your stories, I think that would help other people share their stories and allow you guys to relate and build something that not everyone is able to build. At the end of the day, again, you have one life and you have to live it to the best of your ability. And I think the best way to live your life is to be yourself. And it's hard to be yourself. It's hard, but there's only one of you. Like, there's 113 participants on this, which is incredible. And each single one of you are unique. You're all different, and you're all special, and you're all important. And you all can impact each other. Like, you can all change the freaking world if you wanted to. But you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in the power of your greatness, because you have greatness inside of you, despite the fact that you might be gay, despite the fact that you might be bisexual or queer or, trans. It doesn't matter. Like, what matters is what you've got inside of you, and you should utilize that power inside of you to impact others, to allow them to be themselves. So I encourage you to try to be more courageous, to try to be more open. And I know it's scary, because at the end of the day, everyone judges. It's just within us. It's human nature. But if you don't stand up for yourself like the kids are doing in 2020. I wasn't doing that kind of stuff back in 2003. But in 2020, you guys are standing up for yourselves. You guys are advocating for yourselves. You know, like you give a crap. That's beautiful. You need to utilize that beauty and share it with the world. Because the more that you share, the more that you allow people to not feel so alone. And there's a lot of lonely people out there. So I encourage you to not just be yourself, but to share.
That was great. I felt encouraged right there.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have a great day now.
Thank you, Linda.
I just want to say thank you to our panelists for today, and a reminder to check out safeschools.org if you are interested in what they are working towards. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.